This evening, we have a young gentleman here. I always say young. His name is Mohammed Faheem. He is the Business Employer Services Community Relations Manager for the Illinois workNet Center for Northern Cook County. Mohammed has a master's degree in communication and journalism and over 25 years experience in business management, radio, marketing, public relations, and advertising. Mohammed was the founder and president of the American Business Consultants, American International Marketing, Web Houston International, and the Golden Rule Construction Corporation in Houston, Texas, before retiring and coming to Chicago to be near his family. Mohammed is a nationally known motivational speaker and business process re-engineering expert. He is also recognized for implementing cutting-edge social media strategies for market penetration and societal change. He was the project chairman for Habitat for Humanity projects in Baytown, Texas, and was a member of the Baytown JCs. His contributions to public service have been lauded by President Clinton, President Bush, the U.S. Congress, and a host of community organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, Mohammed Faheem.
Thank you, guys. And if you guys believe that I got something to sell you. But jokes aside, thank you very much for coming, everybody. And I don't know how much you know about the Illinois workNet Center. Anybody know who we are? Show of hands. Okay, lots of friends in here then. The new branding for the workforce system in Illinois, the Illinois workNet Center. You may know us as the IETC from before, the one-stop centers and all of that. We're going to talk a little bit about our services, and then I want to jump into harnessing the power of thinking. That is the topic for today, right? So what kind of thinking? This kind of thinking. Okay? Not positive thinking, negative thinking. Gets your attention, doesn't it? So we'll take a look at it. All of us have got some stuff that we need to work through, and let's see what will make the change for us. Let's get into the workNet side of it, and any questions at all about unemployment insurance, the process? Anybody have any questions? Everybody knows what it is? You have a question. Please go ahead.
I do about the extensions that Congress is supposed to do.
Well, we haven't heard from Congress yet on that. So once that comes through, you'll be automatically notified. Yes, sir.
What is the total term?
Well, the total term is 26 weeks. Don't get that wrong. Now, we have had several extensions in the past, stretching up to 99 weeks. Does not apply to everybody. Like if you apply for unemployment today, you're not going to get unemployment for 99 weeks. You're going to be at 26 weeks unless some other extensions come through for you in particular. Okay? So 99 is not the norm. Any other questions?
What do you mean by you in particular?
What do I mean by you in particular? It is anybody who's applying for unemployment now or have applied recently. It goes from the time that you have applied and you opened your claim. It is not a standard policy of 99 weeks. Any other questions? Everybody knows that you can work part-time while you're collecting unemployment? How much money can you make while you're working part-time? About half the benefit. What happens if you don't certify on your job search?
You don't get paid.
Okay, how many months are you supposed to keep track and a record of your job search after you have started your new job? Any ideas on that?
6 months.
Okay, 6 months he says, but at least 2 years. They can come back anytime within 2 years and ask you to produce proof that you are searching for a job. Yes, ma'am.
So if you did a spreadsheet with all the contact details and how you contact them,
Absolutely. That will count. Even coming to an event like this where you're learning about how to find a job, if you go for a networking event also, that counts as a job search for that day. Okay, so you really don't have to go knocking door to door and putting in those job applications in order to count as actively looking for a job. Because that's the two questions they're asking you when you call in to certify, right? How long have you been, are you looking for a job? Are you available for a job? Those are the two important questions. How many of you know that you can go back to school? Okay. What kind of school? How do you go back to school? Okay. She says that you have to qualify for the VIA program. Let me talk a little bit about what the VIA program is. It is the Workforce Investment Act. It is a federally funded grant program that pays for you to go back to school and upgrade your skills. See, here's what employers are telling us. They don't care what you did 10 years back, 5 years back. They don't care what you did last year. Do you have the skills for my job today or not? And as long as you have been laid off through no fault of yours, there is a good chance that you could qualify for a grant to go back to school. And not to get your bachelor's or your master's degree, but to get some kind of training in current skills. What you have to do is to go to our local website, worknetncc.com for WorkNet Northern Cook County.
WorkNet what?
WorkNetNCC, WorkNetNorthernCookCounty.com. And click on the WIA tab at the top. Follow the links to where you have to register for an orientation, which is about an hour and a half kind of presentation by our team on how do you qualify to get the grant. It is not an automatic qualification. There are different kinds of grants. You have to jump through certain hoops in order to get that money. Everybody with me? Yes, sir.
Can you qualify for a WIA grant while you're still working?
Depends on your situation. There are three types of grants. One would definitely apply to you, which is the 1Y grant for youth 18 to 21. You're like, what about 19, right? Okay. Yeah, the 1D grant is for dislocated workers. The 1A grant is for adults with low income. So there are various permutations and combinations. Till you attend the orientation, I am not the expert in the office. We have the other department that handles that. They will let you know more details. So that orientation is the first step, and it gets filled in pretty quick. Now there's also a grant called the TAA or the TGAA grant. How many of you know of that? John does, because he's working with us.
I'm also on a TAA.
Okay. It stands for what, John?
Trade Adjustment Act.
Trade Adjustment Act. Now this comes into force if you lost your job because of overseas competition or your job was shipped overseas. Slightly different pot of money, but there are more benefits under that. Your unemployment, for example, automatically is extended to 2 years from 6 months. You get more money to go back to school. You can go back and complete your bachelor's or maybe take a master's course or something. Different kinds of benefits kick in with the TAA program. But what you have to do is to talk with your previous employer, see if they have applied for that. The employer has to apply, or some people in your company can come together. They can also apply. Again, the different things. I am not the expert on that, so we're not going to talk much about that today. But these kinds of things are available out there. The Trade Adjustment Act, the TAA, and they put a new spin on it recently, a couple of years back. They call it the TGAA, the Trade Globalization Adjustment Act. Okay? Do a Google search on that. It comes from the Department of Labor. The WIA money flows down through the Department of Labor, through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, on down to the local workforce areas. So different pots of money out there. But the important thing is this, you have got to think about updating your skills. People keep on telling that there are no jobs out there, okay? What I want you to do is to go out and stand on any of the highways in the morning, see how many cars are zipping by you. What do you think these people are going to? Where are they going? They're going to work. There's some kind of work, right? Unemployment, yeah, they say, oh no, it's the 15% is the real unemployment. Big deal. 85 out of 100 people are still working. A lot of this is leading to harnessing the power of negative thinking. So I'm kind of slowly changing your outlook over here. You got to think of the glass not as half full, 85% full. So don't tell me nobody's working in this country. What we tend to do is we tend to listen to all the negative that comes in through the media. There are no jobs out there. Employers are not hiring. And then you get into that downward spiral. I'm too old. I'm too ugly. I'm bald. Okay, look at me. 5'6". You stretch me a little bit, 5'7", depending on the shoes I wear. Okay, crooked teeth and everything. I got a job. But I had the skills for this job. And not only did I have the skills for the job, I keep on developing new skills. Tom was talking about me being a social media expert. Nobody knew what social media was a couple of years back, right? We didn't know that. So if I sat down and said, okay, I've got what I've got this huge experience in business management and radio and TV and all of those things, I don't need to learn anything else. I would not be in the job that I'm in. But 15 years back, I had no clue about computers. Now I can take them apart, put them together. I can write programs. A lot of what we can do now, especially the age group that I'm looking at, except for the 119-year-old sitting over there, you want to focus on him a little bit, Bill. I want to show people how good you can look at 19. Raise your hand, sir. Yeah, you. For what? Okay.
I can't remember when I was 19.
Well, that happens. But here's what I'm trying to get at, folks. No matter how old you are, if you have the skills plus the experience, you are going to trounce that 19-year-old any day in your search for your next job. There's another topic that I speak of that I call as You Inc., how you need to start thinking as a business in today's environment, not as a job seeker, but we're not going to go there. We don't have the time today. But let's take a look and see how can you harness the power of negative thinking. Any ideas? Well, let me tell you my story. Okay? How I got to the point where I am. My friend Jeff is sitting over there. Jeff Williams. Hey, Jeff. Jeff knows my story inside out. Okay. And when I first got into business on my own, it was purely by accident. Literally by accident. I had a head-on collision with an 18-wheeler. I was paralyzed for a couple of years. I couldn't walk. And this was right here in Chicago. Someone said, hey, you're going to die with the Chicago winter, man. It was first year in Chicago, that too. So I moved to Houston to be in a warmer climate, get into some kind of rehab, and started chatting with the doctor who was treating me the first week that I was there. Doc, how do you get patients to come to this place? My uncle brought me here. How do you get your other patients? I said, well, we don't know. I mean, they come. Okay, fine. How can you increase your, And we started talking about it. I said, man, you know so much about marketing. Would you like to consult with us and be a consultant? And here I am lying in my hospital bed. You guys heard about launching a business on a shoestring? Yeah? No shoes, okay? Just my foot tied with a string up there. And I said, okay, how do you launch a business here? So if any one of you over here who want to launch a business, after you're 50, talk to that guy over there, Jeff again. Jeff, raise your hand over there, man. He's the expert in helping people get into business after they are 50 years old, okay? But at that time, I didn't know Jeff, and I was not 50. So I said, okay, how do you launch a business? I said, you need to get a DBA, which is the Doing Business As, for $5 in Harris County, Texas. That's how I launched my first business, American Business Consultants. In those days, we did not have the internet. We did not have anything. We had the phone books, so the idea was to get a business with a name that starts with A. So you are first in the phone book. So American Business Consultants was available. I grabbed it. One thing led to the other. A couple of years I was up walking. It was more mental than medical. I still believe that. And that is what we are going to take a look at. I mean, how do you take negative things and turn them into positive? And trust me, don't trust me. Don't trust the media also. About 5 years into my business, I was approached by one of the local radio stations that I was advertising my business on to see if I would host a local talk show on the weekends. So I started doing talk radio on the weekends, and then another radio station from Salem Communications approached me to see if I would anchor the morning news for them. So I got into the news business with my communications and journalism degree. But in all my years of doing news and radio and all of that, if we were doing any kind of news, it was given to us. We were told what to say. So if you listen to all the negative news, how many of you have read the newspaper today? Any positive stories? No? See, anyway. Okay. If you go back and listen to the news tonight, same thing. Don't let that get to you, because most of it is not correct. And I'm going to show you some examples. Okay. But let's take a look and see what happens when we get hit by certain job loss or another tragic event. Our first reaction is what? Okay? A big question mark on our head, right? I was the best out there, man. What happened? You know, why me? Kind of gets to you, right? Why me? After a while. But instead of doing that, try saying this. Thank you, God, I'm grateful. You may have been in a dead-end job. You must have hated your boss. You didn't want to go to work in the morning. And let me tell you, folks, if my accident had not happened, I wouldn't be standing here today in the position I'm in. I can take the job, leave it. I don't need the job. I'm doing it because I love to do it. But if that had not happened to me, where would I be today? Pretty negative thing, getting hit by an 18-wheeler. I mean, you should have seen the 18-wheeler, by the way. Okay? Don't want to go there today. But with that said, let's get started. Day in and day out, we're bombarded by negative input, right? By the media, by our so-called friends and family. You can't do that. Don't talk with strangers. Don't believe a guy whose name is Mohammed. Okay? Doomsday predictions. The Mayan calendar, now they are saying that 2012 it is, man. Darn it, if the Mayans knew so much, why aren't they around today? But let's take a look and see what's happening. You name it, I mean, you know. By the media again. By our family and friends. I just want to reinforce this. AccuWeather predictions for 2012 that didn't happen. What were they saying in October? October 30th, I pulled this out. Okay? Here's what they were saying. Instead of New York City enduring the worst of winter this year, it will likely be Chicago. Chicago, which endured a monster blizzard last winter, could be one of the hardest hit cities in terms of both snow and cold in the winter ahead. October, they didn't have anything to kind of mess with your head up that day, so they come up with these dire predictions. Okay? And I've got the guy's name up there, Josh Nagelberg. People in Chicago are going to want to move after this winter. Yep. Okay. I don't know. Unless you get hit by an 18-wheeler, don't plan on moving from Chicago. Now the snow and ice and everything is going to where? Texas. Right? Let them have it. But here's what happens. We keep on hearing this negative, negative, negative. And we start going in this downward spiral that, you know, the world doesn't love me. Oh boy. So far I haven't seen this happen, guys. You don't know. Some people will come up to me, winter is not over yet. The hedgehog or whatever didn't see his shadow, right? Okay? Our attitudes are dictated by the input we receive. And it starts when we are in our mother's womb, okay? They start reacting very, very negatively to what the mother-in-law told them that day. The baby gets impacted. I'm just joking on this. But the input that we get, how we process it. But here's it. You may have all heard this. Negative input equals negative output, right? How many of you heard that? Negative in, negative out, garbage in, garbage out. But here's what math is telling us. If you multiply a negative by a negative, what do we get? Anybody thought of that? So I took the negatives that came through in my life, including getting married and having in-laws, but no. Oh gosh, he's taping it. My wife will kill me. I call them my outlaws, so we have a lot of fun. But -1 times -1 equals +1. How can that be possible, right? I asked a friend of mine who is a professor of mathematics in San Jacinto College in Houston, still a good friend, called her up the other day and I said, you know what, I'm making this presentation. Can you send me a proof of this thing? So she sent me a long article. Okay, we're not going to go into that, but this is how it is proved. Okay? So those of you who are inclined to question my wisdom of negative times negative is positive, read that. Okay? Let's not dwell on this. Okay, it's too complicated. I hate math. People look at me and say, you're from India originally, you hate math? What kind of Indian are you? You sure you're not from Pakistan? No, I'm from India. Okay. Or maybe Sri Lanka? I don't know. But the first step in harnessing the power of negative thinking is this. Is to acknowledge the fact that negativity exists. You can't brush it under the table and say, Mohammed said, there's no negative. Everything is positive, the world loves me. And it exists all around us. We have to acknowledge that, right? And there's nothing we can do to change it. Or, what can we do? What can we do is this. Change our reaction to it. We tend to dwell on things, folks. We tend to dwell on things that we have no control over. What happened yesterday, you cannot change it. Can anybody go back, change it? What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen when you leave this place and start to go home? Anybody know what's going to happen? We can only dwell in the present moment, and the best that we can do today, now, think along those lines, and your life will start changing also. Okay, once we start doing that, it loses its power to harm us in any way. What happened yesterday? Darn it, you can't go back and change it. Bill said such a thing to me yesterday. Oh yeah. No, you're going to take a look at this thing also. And we can start using it to benefit us, okay? Change is always difficult. Everybody with me on this? Change is difficult. Think about it, how difficult it is to change yourself. And this is what we try to do. We try to change others. Think about it for a second, folks. How difficult it is to change something about yourself, right? What makes us think we can change others? If you are around negative people, what's going to happen to you? What can you do about it? Here's what you can do. Change the conversation. If somebody is talking bad about something, anything from what is happening in the economy to what is happening in the neighborhood to what's happening at home with their family, friends, change the conversation, right? You have control over that. If you cannot do that, nothing should stop you from changing the location. Get up and walk away from there. Make sense? Try to avoid getting too much negative information and input. But if you keep on getting it, here's a way to handle that also. Think of how we build physical immunity to a virus. Everybody knows that, right? What do? We go to a doctor, we take a vaccine. What is the vaccine? The same virus which is either killed or which is, weakened. And you put that into our physical system. Our physical system reacts. It starts creating antibodies and it starts creating immunity. When we get hit by that big bad virus, loss of job or somebody's a family dying, or we can take the same methodology from our physical self and we can create an immunity in our psychic self also by training our brain, by exposing our brain to the negative, taking action to overcome that negative, not giving it that much importance in our life. Like I said, what happened yesterday, you can't change it. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay? Now, develop psychic antibodies to fight off the negative thoughts. When that negative thought virus attacks it. When I say psychic, I don't mean those, can I see your palm? Not that kind of psychic. I don't know how they exist. If they don't know who their next client is going to be walking through, they should know that, right? There's lots of rip-offs like that, but we're not going to go into that negative thought again. Okay? Build up our psychic immunity to negate the effects of any negative thoughts, thereby creating a positive result. Remember -1, -1 times -1? How we discussed that just a few seconds back? It all depends on how we retrain ourselves. Okay? Sounds difficult, but it is not. Let's take a look at another great thing. Energy by itself is neutral. Who said that? Einstein, right? What did he say? E equals mc squared. Okay? But energy has no negative or positive change to it unless it is acted upon by an external force. The famous E equals mc squared. What does M and C stand for? Everybody knows that. I'm not a mathematician or a scientist. What is it, John?
M is mass, C is the velocity of light.
Right? But something has to be acted on. If this thing is sitting over here, it has energy. If I push it, now I can either make it positive or negative. Science has recently discovered that our brain does not have the capability to determine whether the thought is negative or positive. How many of you know this? Brain doesn't make that determination. It just takes it in. There's a new topic which goes back 40 years back. I don't know how many of you have heard of Maxwell Maltz.